Yeah, so we'll travel to them. We'll connect with each other before they come to Florida, and we'll just come up with a really cool dive plan. Whether I'm coming to them or they're coming to me for our pool session, and then we're agreeing on a really cool place for them to go out and do their open water dive.
Off Gassing, a scuba podcast with host Nick Hogel. One thing I love about this industry is seeing people branch out and create their own paths. It's not always the easiest, but the rewards can be fulfilling. As someone who has started something from nothing, I was excited to chat with Blake Baker, taking his first breaths in the landlocked state of Indiana before relocating to Florida to start A-List Divers, a premier diving business offering a unique diving experience. We sit and discuss ways to grow, finding an audience, Florida diving, challenges faced along the way, and much more. Please enjoy. Blake, tell me how and why you got into scuba diving. Tell me about that first breath underwater, that first experience, what led you to that moment.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's actually pretty crazy. I'm from a tiny town in Indiana, a landlocked state. So there wasn't a lot of scuba diving around my area at all. It's a lot of cornfields. This girl that I was dating at the time, I was 21. She had plans of becoming an underwater welder. Thought that was awesome. She asked me if I wanted to learn how to scuba dive with her. So we went to this place in Indianapolis. We went to a pool first, obviously, and then to just this old quarry. I forget what it's even called now. Hidden Paradise. I'm sure if you're from this area, you've heard of Hidden Paradise. They call it Hidden Parasite. It was a cool place to learn at. But yeah, when I hit that first breath underwater, man, it was life-changing. I knew I wanted to pursue it in some way. Being from Indiana, I didn't know where it was going to take me, but I knew I wanted to figure it out as I went. I fell in love with it immediately. And the same guy that owned the dive shop in Indianapolis, he owned a place in Port Charlotte, Florida. He knew I loved it. I didn't really have any plans. I was working at a warehouse at the time. Didn't have any plans with school or anything like that. So he offered me a job as an instructor, kind of helped me get up to that point. And I moved down to Florida in May of 2020 and have been living here ever since. It's been a journey.
Oh, awesome, man. Awesome. So tell me, what's the diving like you said Indianapolis, is that correct?
Yep, Indiana. So there's not a lot. There's a couple of actual places that do scuba diving, like Hidden Paradise. They have a boat, they have a bus, just a few different things inside the quarry itself to go dive. Which is pretty cool that Indiana even has something like that. You know, it is a cool place. Other than that, my grandparents have a lake in their backyard. I'll put all my stuff and I'll just go and see if I can find anything. There's not a lot to do for sure. You got to get creative.
So did you become an instructor before you moved to Florida, or did you start to progress in Florida?
I got my open water cert, and then that whole year I flew down to Florida a few times, and the dive shop owner had a house I was staying at. His name's Mike Ellis. He's an awesome guy. I've learned a ton from him. He had a house he was letting me stay at for extended periods of time so I could go out on these dives with his other instructors and just get a lot of experience in throughout that next year. And by the next summer, I was ready to go as an instructor and take on that responsibility, which is the best decision I ever made, was getting that certification.
Awesome, man. Well, tell me about some of the courses that, you obviously there's that transition, advanced open water, rescue, dive master. Tell me a little bit about, your experiences going through those courses.
Yeah, absolutely. So the open water, once I had gotten that one, most of my dives were pretty, I would say, shallow, 30 to 50 feet, really. The open water goes to 60 as is. And from there, it kind of felt like everything was the same. Everywhere I'd go, I'd be at around the same depth, same conditions. And then I got into the advanced, I got the advanced open water course just a few months after my open water. And it really opened up to more advanced classes, going in limited visibility, nighttime dives, a little bit deeper, some wrecks. It was awesome. That was the major turning point where it really solidified that I wanted to make a career out of this, was just that it can be so challenging moving from the open water, where once you do get comfortable, it feels like second nature. You move into something a little bit more advanced and it tests you a little bit, and it's just, you want to keep going at it. So the advanced open waters were really solidified that I wanted to make a career with it. Then we did like a deep class. We did rec, rescue, obviously, all of that. And that one, I would say I felt kind of rushed with, because I don't have a lot of advice when it comes to teaching those particular classes now, and I kind of actually want to go back and take a refresher with those, because I do felt like I was rushed with those, and as an instructor you need to be able to know what to do in any situation, especially with those. But yeah, then I got up to my master
Yeah.
diver after all of those. In the master diver, I think I had the most fun with. There's a lot of swimming involved. There's a lot more where it comes down to riskier situations. You know, you're switching all your gear with your buddy with one air source, stuff like that. It was cool. You know, it kind of feels like you're moving into a really cool position with scuba diving at that point. And I absolutely love that.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So, a great way, things that I'll do from time to time. Well, it's been a while for me. I need to get back into it. But if I'm not super comfortable with teaching a course, I'll actually just go and ask somebody like, hey, can I assist? Can I just sit back in the class? If you need any help, I'll be an extra set of eyes or something like that. Because it really is. And especially it's great to get people's different perspectives, how they're teaching, how they're communicating with their students, you know. And it's always a great thing as much as possible to try to do that. And as I'm moving, I'm trying to get back into teaching this next year. I've actually reached out to people just because I've been off of it for a year and just basically said like, hey, can I sit in on some of your classes just so I can kind of refresh my brain and then also get different ideas on me moving forward to teach. So no, that's awesome, man. So the area in Florida where you're diving, tell me a little bit about that. What's the diving like? What's the scene like? I'm sure beautiful Florida weather.
Yeah, I love it, man. The best decision I ever made was going to Florida. It's beautiful here, man. I'm over in like the Tampa Bay area, so there's not a lot of really cool dives in the area I'm in. We have like the Circle of Heroes, which is in Clearwater, which is a really cool memorial for veterans. That one's a really cool one to go and check out. I go to Venice Beach a lot and go shark tooth hunting. A lot of my students, they love going there to be able to find, we're finding 4, 6 inch, megalodon teeth, man. It's pretty cool. My students love going there. We hit the springs quite a bit. Devil's Den is a really good one. Ginny Springs is a lot of fun. Students love that clear water, the cavern type atmosphere. And then obviously the Keys. The Keys are my favorite place to go to ever. Key Largo has some of the best diving I've ever done. The shipwrecks are amazing. The reefs are just so vibrant in color and wildlife. But that's the best part of Florida. Just because my specific area doesn't have a ton of really cool dives, it's just a couple of hours to get to really any point and you can dive anything. That's the beauty in living in this area. And that's what my business does is we travel around the state for the experience, the diving experience. That's kind of what our thing is being able to go to people and give them an experience anywhere in Florida. So traveling gets up there as well on the list of priorities.
Yeah, no, awesome, man. So I definitely want to hear more about the business, but first, tell me more about the shark teeth diving, tooth diving.
Have
So
you ever
because
heard
I've
about that?
seen, no, I have, but I don't know much information. I'll see people post all the time, like, oh, just found this, or they're posting about what they have. So, well, I guess was there just a huge population of sharks there? Is that why that you can find so many? Like, and is it super easy to find? Like you're just cruising along and oh shit, there's a shark.
Man, and it's crazy. When I first moved to Florida and I could find out you could go scuba diving for shark teeth, and people are showing me megalodon 6 inch teeth, and they're saying they're diving for it. I was mind blown. The shop that I was working at was probably 45 minutes from Venice Beach. And don't quote me on every single thing I'm about to tell you about why these shark teeth are there. And if somebody is listening to this, comment in if I'm wrong. But all of Florida used to be covered in water. As the sea levels went down or whatever, land started rising up. And that's when the megalodon were hunting around and, and losing their teeth or whatever. So as Florida was coming out of the water and all these sharks were dying on what is now land, I guess it kind of carved a way out like a river through Venice. And all those sharks, as the water would come up, it's pushing those teeth down towards this river system. And you can dive the rivers right now and find a lot more teeth than you do out in the Gulf. But yeah, so
Oh
as
wow.
over those millions of years, they're pushing these teeth through that river system, and that river system is flowing out into the Gulf. So you find a lot of teeth in certain areas of Venice. That's where where it lets out at. I was in Mayaca just recently walking around. I've heard you can find shark teeth there as well. So it's not just like a Venice thing. You can go around, you can dig for them, you can dive for them. I personally like the diving part because it's a lot of fun just scuba diving and looking for teeth. Um, but yeah, man, it's a really cool thing about Florida. If you're ever over here, hit me up. Let's go out there and dive. I've got some really cool places.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Yeah, I did know about it. I didn't know much information around it though. That's why I was just super curious. So, is it just like guaranteed every time you're going to dive you're going to find one? When you're in the
No,
water, you have to do a little searching. Like how does that work out?
that's a great question too, because it took me at least 5 dives out there to even find a single small tooth. So when you're out there, and I do a lot of the shore diving, so I'll put on all my gear at my car and I'll walk out to the water and I'll swim out. And it's a swim, man. It's a pretty long way. And I would recommend, if you're coming to this area just to dive for that, go with a charter. The charters in Venice are amazing. And I would say then, man, I wouldn't say it's guaranteed, but it's more likely you're going to find a big tooth on one of the charters. But when you're swimming out, it's just going to be sand underneath you. That's all you're going to see. And you hit a certain spot where there's more ripples and there's these big black pieces in the sand. That's when you know you're about to be in a good spot, and you'll just see these teeth just laying up on the sand. There's a couple times, man. My highest day, I found over 350 just regular shark teeth and like one megalodon tooth. So it's not guaranteed.
Wow.
Yeah, you do have to find the spots that they're gonna be at. It's really wild, and that's what makes it so much fun, though, because you can find different spots that are either gonna have just a ton of shark teeth, or you're not gonna find anything. You're just wasting air. So it's a lot.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I definitely am super interested in that just because yeah, to find a megalodon tooth would be, kind of mind-blowing in a sense, just how old it is and how long it's been sitting there, and then all of a sudden you as a diver comes along and you're like, "Hey, let me just scoop this up right now."
Yeah, you're the first human in all these years that have ever touched it. It's surreal. It's crazy.
Yeah, so what's the biggest one that you've found?
Biggest one I found is probably like 5 inches. And they measure them
Oh
kind of like
shit.
at an angle. Yeah, and that dude, I feel like it's not even that big from what I've seen. And I've been going out there, I would say pretty consistently every weekend for fun the past 3 years, two and a half. And that's the best part of it though, man, because once you do find something that's more than 3 inches, your heart drops every time you see it. So it's fun just going out there, and it's even crazier because underwater it looks bigger. So you'll think you found like a 6, 7 inch tooth. You get out of the water and it's like a 4 inch tooth, but it's still cool.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And then you were saying another spot is Key West. So I've been to Key West. I've never been diving in Key West. We flew into Fort Lauderdale and then drove down. Super nice drive. I really like that drive. But yeah, tell me a little bit about the diving in the Keys.
So I've only been to Key Largo so far. That's the only place I've dove at, and that was my first. That was actually my first ocean dive ever. Was in Key Largo doing the Spiegel Grove. The Spiegel Grove. If you're ever in Key Largo, you got to check it out. I've heard it's like the third or the fifth largest artificial coral reef in the world. It's like 510 feet long. Just a massive ship. It's an old aircraft receiver. And man, I've seen the biggest barracuda on that thing. It is the coolest dive. It's so cool. You go down the rope. Obviously, you go down. It's just all blue beneath you. You can't even see the shipwreck yet. And you're just going down this line. It's just this massive ocean around you. It's probably the coolest feeling as a diver, you ever feel. Just seeing this vast blue ocean. You don't know what's out there. And as you're going down, you're just seeing the shipwreck come to view. If you're going down on the deck, you can't even see where it ends at, even on good visibility. It's that big of a shipwreck. Other than that, there's the Christ of the Abyss. It only sits at like 15 feet deep. And there's so much coral and so much wildlife around that as well. If you are a new diver in the Keys, I would even check out some of those 15 to 30 feet reef, coral reef dives. It's worth it. It's worth it if you're there. It's beautiful. If you can't do those deeper shipwrecks.
Tell me about A-list divers. What prompted you to start that? Or just tell me about it in general, like what y'all are doing.
Yeah, so pretty much the company itself, it's called A-List Divers. We're a fully private scuba diving. We're a mobile facility. So we drive really all around. So far, we've just been all around Florida. We'll have students that come from all over the U.S. Haven't had any somebody international yet come in. Yeah, so we'll travel to them. We'll connect with each other before they come to Florida, and we'll just come up with a really cool dive plan. Whether I'm coming to them or they're coming to me for our pool session, and then we're agreeing on a really cool place for them to go out. and do their open water dive. So it's really just, it's a big take on the one-on-one, very luxurious, I'd put it that way as well. We handle the transportation to and from, all the fees going into certain dive locations. So that's kind of what A-list divers is. But yeah, back in 2020, when I moved to Florida to become an instructor, I obviously fell in love with it. I loved being an instructor. I like teaching people. That's my thing when it comes to diving. I love introducing new students to the underwater world and kind of showing them what it's about and how to be safe exploring it. So that summer, I was living in Clearwater, Florida, and I was driving almost 2 hours every day to Port Charlotte to the shop down there. And I knew I didn't want to drive 2 hours every day, each way, 4 hours total a day to scuba dive. You're already exhausted after your dives as is. I knew I wanted to kind of I needed to figure something out for myself. So December of 2020, I actually got my LLC for A-list divers. And like a month before that, I watched a video of Will Smith getting certified to scuba dive. And I was like, man, that's so cool. Like these people, they're bringing a name to scuba diving that a lot of people would have never thought about scuba diving until they saw Will Smith do it. So then I was like, wow, that's a really cool way to kind of make scuba diving more mainstream and make ocean conservation bigger as well. Our oceans do so much for humans in general. I think it's something everybody should know about, obviously. After that, I was like, man, that'd be really cool to kind of get into a private scuba diving, do my own private classes for people. Not saying I'll ever reach that kind of a level, but just people like that can have more of a voice than I do. If I could teach them how to scuba dive and show them just how beautiful it is and how it will change your life, that's kind of why I got into my own business. And it's been doing great ever since. I really started taking it more serious this past year with my own business, and it's blessed me. It's kept me in the water, and it's been awesome so far.
What are some challenges that go into, I guess, starting, creating that business? Because I feel like I'll have some challenges like, okay, like what's the next step? Like, how do I promote? How do I get the business out there? I mean, you start a business, you want to get the name out there, but yeah, talk about some of the challenges that you've had to go through.
Yeah, so my biggest challenge with the business so far, I would say marketing and social media. And it's weird. I thought that whenever I started up my Instagram, for example, Instagram's kind of the biggest one, I feel like, especially for divers, because it's pictures and videos. It's the easiest way for us to put our lifestyle, into social media. So that's kind of the one I focused on the most. And I don't know, I feel like with other kind of profiles I've had in the past, whether it was personal or like business related to something else, I felt like I was doing it the right way. I was getting a lot of engagement. I was commenting, connecting with other people. They were doing it back. But with diving, it's been completely opposite. And I feel like there is a large ego. And I've actually listened to your podcast where you talk about the egos in scuba diving. And I kind of pick up on it a little bit, man. Like a lot of, like half, I'd say 75% of the accounts that either don't engage back or kind of, you've got to be friendly, man. It's scuba diving. We're all friends. We're all a family. I'm going to have your back over anybody else if I see a dive flag sticker on your car. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But it just seems like, and I've actually had people, I had this guy message me once. He says, he's like, hey, man, I love your business idea. I've been doing the same thing in the Tampa Bay area for 20 years. I've had all these exclusive people come and dive through me. And he's like telling me to change certain things. And I'm like, I said, I've never even heard of you for one. I said, I feel like I know the Tampa Bay area pretty well with the diving scene. So I'm like, I hit him up. I'm like, hey man, that's super cool. I'd love to go out to lunch sometime and kind of pick your brain and kind of see your ideas and how you did it. And he read it and never replied at all. And I'm like, man, like that's the type of people in this industry though that are out there. And the vibe I got from that was, hey, I'm already doing this. You should change it to not do it the exact same way I am. I don't even know what he was doing. But then again, I've also met some really cool people on Instagram. I've made a lot of really cool friends. And back to my point, I feel like we all just need to humble ourselves a little bit and, be more friendly with each other. We all have so much cool stuff to share, but everybody's trying to one up each other with their cool stuff they're sharing. You know what I mean?
Oh, man. Yeah, no, definitely.
That's been my hardest part, is just connecting with the diving world in general on social media. Other than that, man, I've done some really cool stuff marketing in my area that has resulted in more students coming in, which I love. I love that more than anything. But yeah, just in the scuba community, it's like I'm trying to make more of a name and you can get out there more, which I'm sure that's kind of what you mean as well with your podcast. Yeah, that's kind of that's been my biggest struggle so far, man, is just kind of getting into that social media, and I'm connecting with bigger accounts as well. I want A-list divers and my name to be up there. Just, I'm sure like you would as well. They see your name and know exactly who you are.
Oh, definitely. And to be honest, like it's that is the probably biggest challenge that I face is the social media side of it, because I just social media in general, I didn't have that talent. Like some people have that talent where they can get on social media, they can put content out there, they know how to make the content, because that's also a big challenge that
That's a
I face.
big part of it, man. Yes, same. Yep.
Oh, it's huge. Like
Huge.
so recently, because I'm trying to figure out the game plan, get the name out there more. And I'm like, okay, well, reels. Like I have to start making reels. I have to start putting content out. Yeah, like you're saying, you can see it, you can hear it, and then it has to be like under a minute long because attention spans are so short, right? So,
Yeah.
and some people have a real talent for doing that, and I'm just sitting here like, I mean, I swear it took me like a couple of hours to make my first reel, just because I'm like, I don't know how to do this, especially on a phone. I'm like,
Yep.
it's just quite
Yeah.
challenging for me. And yeah, I'm still trying to navigate that social media side. And it really is weird because, the scuba diving industry is so small in comparison to a lot of other industries. And there are these big, like, I don't want to say egos, but egos. And
There are, man.
it's
Yeah.
like, man, and maybe we're all just kind of fighting for that piece of the pie, but it's like there's a whole pie, and I would feel that there's enough to go around, but someone might
Yeah.
completely disagree with me with
But I feel like we're a really cool time of scuba diving too. I feel like we're really about to break that ego. We're getting a lot more young people in it, which I think is awesome. And I'm young. I'm 26. I just turned 26 last week.
Oh, happy birthday, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. But in the few years that I've been doing this, and I've met people that have been diving for 50 years. I've met people that have been diving for a few months, obviously. And I feel like we're on the verge. There's a lot more female leaders, which I love that. I love seeing that. I think that's cool that we're getting all these people that are becoming leaders in our industry that 10 years ago wasn't so common. And those people that were there 10 years ago kind of running things, I feel like they have a big part in this whole ego thing because it's not uncommon. A lot of the podcasts I listen to, everybody's talking about how toxic and how it's ego driven. So it's definitely on the radar, man. And I think within the next 5 years that will be driven out a lot more. And as long as there's people that have that mindset, like, hey, let's get this ego driven out. It's going to make the whole industry better. It's going to make more people want to get into the industry because that was one thing whenever I never even thought about diving because of the ego. Every diver that I ever heard of was just you know how it is, man. They think they're better than everybody else. That turned me off from it. That was that I didn't want to deal with it. And luckily I had a cool instructor when I did it, and I learned a lot from him, and I never want to be seen as that guy. And I think as long as keep that going, that kind of culture being built in the industry, it's going to be all good within like 5 years.
No, for sure. And that's kind of there always is the double-edged sword of social media, the good and the bad. But I think that's one good thing about social media is that now we're able to kind of highlight that toxicity and put that information out there and let it be known. And just individuals who are toxic in general, it does get shown over time. Like it will be seen because they might not necessarily put themselves out there that way or intend to, but it's like what you're doing, you're doing it, so. And yeah, no, it's yeah, definitely the toxicity as a whole. I even had a whole roundtable. Probably we'll have another one just because it is so like apparent. Well, yeah, man. And then so like the challenges. That's another thing too. Is so me. That's kind of a goal that I'm moving towards is to do the independent instructor thing. I used to teach out of a shop in Austin, Texas, and love that shop. They're
Yeah.
basically my family. But I was like, okay, let me, I want to go the more independent route, kind of teach classes more on my own terms. And so that's kind of something that I want to try to highlight next year and, market it. But that's another thing is I'm like definitely just not good at marketing. So what tips and tricks do you have for someone trying to bring up their marketing game?
Man, I would say it really comes down to knowing your market for one. If you know exactly who you're targeting, that's the whole point is knowing who you want to target. for A-list divers, my whole target, and I kind of want to push it towards an athletic type thing. In August, I had emailed, I don't even know how many emails, man, hundreds, thousands probably, to, for example, NFL player agents. This is one I had the most success on. So I emailed just a ton of NFL player agents. I didn't email players, didn't waste my time doing that. They're not going to respond to me. So I hit up their agents and I came up with like 10 reasons why scuba diving was beneficial for athletes. I copied and pasted the same email, but man, I was going through and I was typing every email out. I was typing the subject lines out. It took me hours. And out of like hundreds for the NFL ones alone, I only had 3 people reply to me. One of them, he was like, "Hey, I love the idea. I think it's cool, but there's a lot of factors that go into NFL contracts. A lot of contracts don't allow scuba diving. They don't allow skydiving. They don't allow anything that this
Oh,
player can go
really?
do to maybe go get hurt or something." So I'm like, man, that's discouraging. Luckily, that was the third email I got. I got 2 before that. And the 2 before, and I don't want to say any names because I don't know if I haven't really like met with them yet. We've just been emailing. But if it does, I'll let you know. Maybe we'll have to hop back on here with an update or something. But
Oh, yeah, yeah, definitely.
yes, but right now I'm in contact with 2 NFL player agents. They were in the top 50 last year. Both of them pretty much stating that at the moment it wasn't a good idea, but in January to reach back out to figure something out for the off season to do to maybe potentially do a scuba diving training for some NFL players. But that's what I mean with the marketing, man. You have to connect with people. You gotta know exactly who you want. If you want to get tourists, another thing I did, I hit up some of the resorts around the whole Gulf Coast of Florida. Hey, I do private classes and I got brochures out to these resorts and they were getting tourists for me. So it comes down to your market. It's kind of what you want to do as a dive shop or as an independent instructor. Who do you want your clients to be? Do you just want anybody walking in to take your class, which is awesome? Or do you want just a certain type of people? Do you want to travel to people? Do you want them to come to you? There's a lot of factors that go into marketing kind of your business and what you want to do with it, I guess is my point. But yeah, my biggest advice would be figure out what makes you different and get it to somebody that can connect you with people that want your product or your service. I think the connections are really the biggest thing.
I completely understand on the email because I'm a one-man show over here. So I literally send all the emails, I reply to all the emails, and I am so bad with organizing. Like I need to figure out that's another thing for this next year is I'm like, okay, is it going to be, a whiteboard on my wall
Right.
and like scheduling, just writing things down? Do I need to go and I've gotten a lot better at Excel spreadsheets. So I'm like, do I need to go and just create a big Excel spreadsheet? Um, but yeah, it's because when I first started or had the idea of the podcast, I'm like, okay, obviously I, want this to be an interview based podcast. I have other aspirations and want, different ideas, I should say. And I'm like, yeah, I just need to send out 100 emails, 200 emails. As one friend put it, he's like, just throw everything against the wall and see what sticks.
Exactly.
And oddly enough, a lot of people were receptive to the emails, like probably out of 100 emails that I sent out, a lot of people, probably like 90% of them replied and be like, yeah, I'd love to come on the podcast and chat. Some people I'm still after, I'll kind of, we haven't really scheduled something or they just haven't replied. But the email side of it was kind of easy for me. But I have a few other ideas that I'd like to do with the podcast to try to grow my name. And that's kind of where I'm hitting a wall where it's kind of like you're saying, out of the 100 emails you sent, 3 replied. And it's just, how do you overcome that? Because you got to have a lot of like, you keep hearing no,
Right.
like, and for you to not give up, I think that's awesome because I feel like it's super easy to want to just be like, am I even doing the right thing?
Exactly,
So
man.
is it just something that you're pushing and just that much of a passion for that there's no giving up?
Yeah, man. I mean, I love diving. This is my passion. I love waking up every day knowing I can go out and drive 10 minutes and get in the ocean of all places. From a small town in Indiana where it's cornfields around me, I love this, man. This is definitely a passion, and you have to know how to overcome the rejection. Anything that's easy isn't worth doing, man. If anybody can do it, it's not going to be easy, especially owning a business where you're doing a podcast or you're trying to get some scuba students. There's going to be difficult moments. You just have to keep pushing through it. For me, out of that 100, There's 98 no's and there's 2 yeses. All I'm seeing are the yeses, and that hypes me up so much, man. That I have a lead I can go off of to go and hopefully teach some people how to scuba dive. And even if those 2 say no, I'll go email 1,000 more until somebody does say yes, and then I'm not giving this up, man. This is it. This is literally it. No giving up.
No, I love that, man. I absolutely love that. Yeah, just
All
because
in.
it's, like I swear, the last couple weeks, I'm just like trying to push new ideas, and then I just kind of heap like, oh no, we're good, we're good, we're good,
Right.
and I'm just like, okay, well, it kind of got to a point where I was just like, okay, I need to restructure, I need to do something else, not stop the podcast or anything, but like, what's the next idea? But
Yeah.
like, kind of walked away with a little bit of just like, tail tucked, like, okay, what's going on? And then like after a day or two, I'm like, you know what, fuck this. Like, I gotta like do something. I gotta, what's the next idea? Like, what's the next thing
Right.
I can do? That was one idea of 30. Like, let's promote the next idea. And actually, this is a great question for me to ask you is, because I actually kind of have a goal to get some big name people on the
Yeah.
podcast. So you're reaching out to agents, like, how do you even find those agents? Like, is that public knowledge, or do you have to go and like how does that even work out?
So, and man, I hit up so many different agents. I hit up NBA agents. I hit up WNBA agents. I was hitting up everything that I could. It's that motivation to get somebody to come take my class. So yeah, man, it was hard. There were some organizations where I could go on and find a list of agents and all their contact information. NFL, it was pretty easy. There were some websites kind of like that where I could go on and find, a list of a few. But for the most part, man, it was pretty difficult. I would have to just find like a list, like in the NBA, I believe it would show me a list of all their agents, but it wouldn't show me their contact info. So then I have to open another tab, put in their name, then try to find a LinkedIn profile or something like that to where I could get at least an email
uh
or a phone number. Yeah, so there was a lot of adversity to it for sure. It wasn't easy.
yeah, the internet sleuthing. And no, there's been a couple of people that I've wanted to reach out on the podcast where it's not just easy as like a Google search. It's like, okay, after like however long, just like, oh, finally got that email, let me send it out, like all that
Yeah,
work, and then no reply. Or I've actually I've been super, super blessed because some of the people that I've had on the podcast, I just never thought in a million years that I'd be sitting down having a conversation with them. And it's been absolutely amazing. And the podcast will always be interview based. I love hearing the, that first breath, that first experience. I was chatting with somebody the other day, and it was a very different aspect of the scuba industry, and they're like, oh, I don't know if your viewers will like it that much. And I was like, I disagree, because at the end of the day, this is a scuba diving podcast. That's what brings us together. That's
yeah,
why we're
exactly.
sitting across, is that we're within this industry, and there's many different aspects of it. There's, the behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, the middle, and I want to speak to everybody, especially just to kind of highlight, their story, because sometimes it's such a fun story to hear about, kind of like you're like, oh yeah, it
Yeah,
just so happened, in Indiana, and then now you're in Florida. It just led you,
it's life
completely
changing,
changed
man.
your path into where you are, right? Yeah, no,
Completely.
for
Yeah,
sure. And that's
yeah.
such an awesome thing to hear. So yeah, no, I'll definitely have to keep in contact. Well, I always tell people, like, if you're on the podcast now, we're life for friends. So,
Oh,
or life for
absolutely,
friends,
man.
friends for life. Yeah.
For life.
Yeah. As someone that's trying to grow a business, and you're doing the same, and you're
Yeah.
successful at it, like, it's definitely always great to hear different perspectives, and get ideas. Random question. Have you made it back to Indiana to dive since you moved to Florida? Would you?
So I've actually not dove since I've left. The last time I dove was the summer before. I was working towards getting my instructor. I dove then, and man, I was so nervous in these lakes, and it's crazy. I'm out diving in the ocean all the time. I'm not nervous about sharks or anything like that at all, but I'm scared of these snapping turtles and snakes in these lakes up in the Midwest, bro. Like, I don't want to. I feel
Oh no
like,
shit.
yeah, and I was so nervous whenever I first got certified, but now I'm actually in Indiana right now visiting family, and every day I wake up and I see my grandparents' lake, and I just want to get in there, man, and see what I can find underneath that water. So this next summer when it warms up, I'm going to come back and dive everywhere I can just to kind of get back at it.
Snapping turtles are no joke. I came up diving in Texas, so I did a lot of my first dives. Did the bulk of my dives still in Texas, and some of those lakes. I mean, you'll find some big snapping turtles, and those
Yeah,
things are
man.
no joke.
They're nasty. Yeah, and they're
This,
mean. They're mean. Crazy.
so, will you ever get into any cold water diving?
So eventually, I do want to do ice diving someday. And I don't know when. I felt like I kind of got really rushed into my instructor cert that I didn't really have a full time. Like I said, I felt rushed doing my rescue diving and all of that. Like I couldn't just sit through the class and actually learn. It felt like I was being rushed more than anything. So now going forward, I really take my time with everything I'm doing with diving. Everything is dangerous in what we do. Everything. You can't cut corners. You have to be safe. The fun comes with the safety. So right now, I think my next thing I want to do is ice dive. I think it'd be cool to go on a trip somewhere, go beneath the ice in a dry suit. Yeah, I would absolutely do that. I would absolutely do that. I think it'd be cool.
I agree. I've told people in the past, like, scuba diving is, I used to tell my students, scuba diving is a very safe sport. You,
Yeah,
as the individual or a group or a team, you make it as dangerous as it can be. Like, you
exactly.
can go out there and you could make it the absolute most dangerous sport, or you can go dive the whole rest of your life and just get some good training, be safe, and you'll never have it. Well, I should say you'll never not have an incident. Like, things happen,
Right.
but the chances are, if you just be safe and watch that pressure gauge, just not put
Exactly.
yourself in any crazy scenarios, you could literally go a lifetime and not have an incident happen. And it's really up to the individual. So
Exactly.
that's why I always tell people, like, get proper training, just take your time, do things nice and slow, and things will, yeah, it's just so much easier.
Exactly. Be comfortable, be calm, gain that confidence, and yeah, you're solid.
You just back home for the holidays?
Yeah, yeah. I came up here to see my family during Christmas and stuff. I was up here last month as well, but I don't get up here very often. I stay pretty busy down in Florida, so I came up here for a few weeks to see them. Get down to Florida and hit that water again.
Yeah. Do you have any dive trips planned for yourself? Any destinations that you're trying to go to in 2024? Or what are some goals, I should say, for 2024?
2024, I want to do a lot more fun dives in Key Largo. I'd like to go do the Spiegel Grove again, just for fun, no students. I'd like to go with my GoPro, get some cool footage of that. Definitely, I think this year I want to find at least a 6.5 inch megalodon tooth in Venice. So, I mean, other than that, man, it's just all about introducing people to the water, man. Other than that, I have a couple goals to go out and dive, but that's what I like doing the most. I love teaching people. Absolutely love teaching people how to dive. That's the best thing in the world to me.
Awesome, man. No, there really is a joy to introduce people to that. I mean, literally the podcast, what was your first breath, your first experience?
Yeah,
Everybody remembers that first time underwater, and to be the
exactly.
person that introduces, like, I will remember the person that brought me underwater for the rest of my life, for the first
Yeah,
time.
right.
Never forget him. This guy Ian from England, and I think he's out teaching in Indonesia. No, it's such a, like you said, life-changing experience. So to
Yeah.
be able to be that person, that pivotal moment in someone's scuba diving career, is such an amazing thing. So
Yeah.
that's awesome, man.
Yeah. What about you, man? You got anything planned? What are your goals for 2024?
Going to Mexico in May to start my cavern intro and just kind of see where it goes. Really looking forward to that. Mexico's always a great time.
Always.
The few times that I've been down there, and if you have not had, well, I mean, you're in Florida, so I'm sure you've been in the cavern zone, but it's a surreal experience, man. It's I didn't think I would like it, and then I went in and I was like, mind blown. So
Yeah, I've never done anything like it, but that's what it seems like. Every time I see videos, man, it looks just insane. Looks cool. You're gonna have fun doing that, man.
yeah, and you're in the heart of it, man. In your area, there's some top notch instructors. There's some top notch caves. So if you ever decide to go down that path, there's definitely a lot of people in Florida that highly respectable, just really, really good at what they do. And then other than that, like I said, I'd like to get back into teaching and then still progress my own education. I became the instructor and then I was just teaching just recreational a lot. And then I kind of put my personal training on hold just because I was teaching so much. And that was actually kind of a blessing in disguise this last year, or since I moved out to Malaysia, is I stopped teaching, but I was able to further my own education, which has been really amazing for me, just to kind of open new doors and,
Yeah.
kind of find what I like. And I'm really looking forward to that. But also, I would really, the goal is to kind of get back into teaching as well as further my own education. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Those are some good goals.
yeah, man, I'm really excited. Well, awesome, man. So I'll usually last couple questions. It's kind of going to be a little two-parter. I usually like to ask, what advice would you like to give to those newer divers? That new student, someone looking into getting into scuba diving, and then also with just what you're doing, what advice would you have for someone that's trying to start up their own business? Because that's, it's not an easy task. It's a scary task. So
Yeah.
what advice could you give to that person trying to do that?
So new divers, I would definitely say, take it slow. This isn't a race. Take your time. Learn why you're doing every skill that you're doing. I know when I did my class, I feel like I rushed through certain things, not really thinking about why I was doing a certain skill. But there's a reason for it all. The more you dive, I guarantee you're going to run into a situation where you're going to know why you did each skill in your open water class. The reason why you did it. Stay calm, have fun. The fun comes with the safety of it. So just take your time. Don't think you're going to be an inconvenience because everybody else is diving if you don't feel safe. Speak up, let your instructor know. New business owners, I would say connect with people. Reach out to me if you want. I'll talk to you every day about diving. I love it. I love getting messages in my Instagram. It's cool making friends in the industry, regardless of what level you are. Open water should be able to talk to anybody above them, and open water should feel free to go and talk to somebody that's just starting out. It makes us all better. So yeah, new businesses, I would say find what makes you different. Hit your market that you're kind of intending to go for, and just connect with everybody that in the industry. Make your name known.
Well, hey, man, I really, really want to thank you for coming on to the podcast today, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a great learning experiences. I will definitely have to make it to Florida. I've been planning to make it down there at some point again. It's been a while since I've been down there, but just to go shark tooth hunting, just because, and then amongst other reasons. But
Right, yeah.
no, that seems like it would just be an absolute blast to go and plus just to walk away with a pretty cool souvenir. So.
Exactly, man. Yeah, dude. Thank you so much for having me on. I've been listening to your podcast since I started. I think I posted my first post in July. I've been following you at least since then. So good luck to you in your endeavor with this as well, man. You're doing great. Keep it up. Really appreciate the opportunity to be on here. Let's go find some shark teeth when you're here, man.
Off-gassing, a scuba podcast.